All right, the time is 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call the Tewksbury Conservation Commission meeting to order. Just repeat that once again, this is the Tewksbury Conservation Commission, it's not the other thing that's going on the other side of Town Hall. All right. Once again, Tewksbury Conservation Agent. All right. All right, first items on the agenda are the approval of minutes. This is for January 10th, January 24th, February 7th, and February 21st. Are there any, comments or issues with those? Any discussion? If there's no discussion, could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. First item, or the next item on the agenda is Agenda Item A, Public Hearing, Request for Determination of Applicability for Michael Shaughnessy on behalf of David Wilkinson, 0 Billerica Industrial Park. Is there anybody here for that? And could you just please introduce yourself for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Yep. Jamie Hunt from US Pavement.
And what are you here to discuss?
So we are continuing, I was actually here last year, continuing a project at 101 Billerica Ave, where we are removing and replacing the existing parking lot. So it's just a continuation of the project, reapplying for the permits that we need.
All right.
Is this a mill and overlay or?
It's a
what?
pulverize and pave.
Okay. And then is the full extent everything in yellow that's shown on the map in lot 7?
Yes.
Everything.
So yeah, the entire parking lot will be replaced.
You, but that sounds way more fun than us.
If you would like to sing at any point, you're allowed. Actually, no, you're not. Just give us some time to review
So
this.
the only addition to the order conditions that I see is addition of silt sacks and all the catch basins. in the
Yes,
parking
so
lot
that's
as
the
well.
plan, that the straw water will go the 100 feet as required and silt sacks on the entire property.
Yep.
I see that in one of the drawings, on the pictures here.
Which one are you referring to?
Oh, jeepers. It's install silt sacks and all catch basins within work
Yeah.
area.
I see it.
Already denoted.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Not hearing any. This is a public hearing. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. I'll give you a few seconds. Not seeing anybody rise. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Can I just, you're aware of the special conditions? Yeah, all right,
Yes.
all right. If that's the case, then could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
Just for the public's benefit, the special conditions are the installation of silt fences and straw wattles, and for the conservation agent or a designated member of Tewksbury to inspect and approve the installed erosion control measures.
Could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
All right, next item on the agenda is Agenda B, Public Hearing, Request for Determination of Applicability, Alexander Quinn, 13 Catamount Road. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Sure. Alexander Quinn?
With it. I don't know, but that's a good point.
Lynn is
Yeah.
recusing herself, just for the record.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. The floor is yours. Can you tell us what you plan on doing?
Sure, yeah, I just want to construct a deck in my backyard that's within the buffer zone of the wetlands on the property.
All right. And you typically don't get 3D looking plans. These are pretty
I
nice.
had the access to some CAD software.
Do you know roughly how far away from the wetlands you are?
So Joe came out and measured it, and I believe he said 35 on the mass mapper map that I have in the application, just from the satellite view. I think the number I got was 42, believe. Yeah.
So do you know the size difference between the existing deck and the proposed deck?
Yeah, in square footage or the distance from
Yeah,
the...
square footage.
Yeah, I think it's going down to, I believe, 300. It should be on here, though. Or actually, I'm sorry, that might be the building permit that I don't have a copy of, as opposed to the RDA. But significantly smaller.
It's smaller?
Yeah, smaller than the existing deck and further from the wetland as well.
It's pretty straightforward. I have
Yeah.
no other questions.
If nobody else on the commission has any further questions or comments, this is a public hearing, and I will open it up to anybody in the public who would like to make a question or comment. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And then, just to make sure,
Do you want me to read them?
I can read them. The special conditions. Install and, I'm going to read them all. Install and maintain erosion and sediment controls, which shall include a properly entrenched silt fence and/or staked straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. ESCs shall remain in place until all areas are of disturbed or loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. And then prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent or representative shall inspect and approve the installed ESCs. You're okay with that?
Yep,
All right.
got it.
The public hearing has been closed, so in this case, could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much, everyone.
All right. Agenda item C, public hearing, request for determination of applicability. Claudio Arua, on behalf of Grace Milde Medeiros, 54 Wyndham Road. And I apologize for whatever I just said. Would you please introduce yourself for the record?
Hi, my name is Alisson. I work for All Matters General Contractor. I represent All Matters, and Grace Medeiros easier. So, yeah, we are proposing to demo and build a new deck and a three-season porch on the existing one, but the area is on a floodplain zone, so.
So it's a three-season porch. It's enclosed, but not,
Enclosed, but not on the, practically will be, she has one right now, and it's closed. We demo everything, dig new furnace with like big furnace there. to hold it, the new structure. And underneath on the deck will be like just some walls to have some storage inside, but not anything more than that. And on the top, we have decking boards with roofing and walls and windows on that. And the actual one, it's on the first floor already, so we're gonna demo and build on the second floor,
All right.
right? Mhm.
There's no intention to do any regrading of the soil or anything in the area? Perfect.
No.
All right.
Same size, same
Same
footprint?
size, same size.
Okay.
And,
I think there is 11 by 21 now, the existing one.
all right.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable with installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls and properly secure
area.
around the perimeter for the
Yes.
duration of the project? Installed by the applicant or agent, and the conservation agent or representative shall inspect and approve the installed ESCs as discussed in this order of special conditions.
Okay,
All right.
yes.
So if that's the case, I will open it up to the public. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment, now's the time to do so. Not seeing anybody rise, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Before I go on, did you have a question? I wasn't sure if you were waving to me.
No,
Oh, all right.
No,
I saw something, I wasn't sure.
I think it was an itch. It's the same, right?
All right. Could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next item on the agenda is D, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, Thomas Crawford, 140 Louisiana Road. Is there anybody here for that? And could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Tom Crawford.
And what do you plan on doing?
So we submitted a request for determination for an in-ground pool. We hired a licensed surveyor who supplied the present plot plan showing we have the setbacks. We are about 62 feet away from the 100-year flood plan. My father's been working with Joe Fontaine, and then now Alex through this matter.
So the in-ground pool is 18 by 36,
Yep.
and it's 10 feet off the wood deck.
It looks like 63 feet to the closest on the 100-year floodplain. Is that correct?
Do you plan on doing any regrading of the land besides putting in the pool?
No, just some pavers around it, but that's about it.
All right, I'm going to sound like a broken record. We'll make sure we don't pump pool water into that direction.
Yeah.
Water's going to come the other way.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything on here about like what's happening surrounding the pool. Are you going to put any other features?
Besides pavers, no.
All right.
I'll pay this, yeah.
What's that?
He said pavers, that'd be fine.
All right. If there's no further questions from the commission,
Quick question, is there going to be any dewatering needed with this pool?
The watering?
Dewatering during the construction?
I'm not 100% sure.
How deep is the pool?
I think the deepest is,
I thought it was 7 feet finished.
yeah, there's a deep end, it's about 7 feet, and then it goes up to about 4, I believe.
Yeah.
In a vinyl liner? It's going to be a vinyl liner.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you should put the dewatering, because that is really close to,
Just in case.
yeah, I think it's a good call. Make sure that's your special conditions, Dan.
Yeah. So I'm just,
Any dewatering activities would need to be coordinated with the conservation agent
All
or
right.
designee
we don't want to
when
get.
they commence.
All right. So on top of coordinating any dewatering
Yeah.
with the conservation agent, install and maintain erosion and sediment controls, which shall be, include a properly entrenched silt fence and or staked straw wattles around the area of construction to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. ESCs shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent or representative shall inspect and improve of the installed ESCs.
Yep.
All right. So if there's no further discussion from the commission, I can open it up to the public. This is a public hearing. If you would like to make a comment, you can go to the podium, introduce yourself, and ask any questions or make any comments that you wish. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and next item on the agenda is item E, public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Jennifer Maderos on behalf of Emerald Court Condo Trust, 1,000 to 2,000 Emerald Court. And we have Dennis recusing himself. All right, have fun. And could you please introduce yourselves for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Jennifer Medeiros for Emerald Court.
Joel Silva from Silva Management.
Thank you.
So we're just looking to pulverize and repave the existing roadways at Emerald Court.
All right. And you're doing all of Emerald Court?
We are doing 80% of Emerald Court.
80%.
But a portion on the right-hand side is what runs through that 100-foot buffer zone in two sections.
All right.
Same footprint, just removing and replacing the pavement.
Exactly.
Okay.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Just to add to the special conditions when they're read, just make sure silt sacks are in all the catch basins before work commences.
All right, yes, and in addition to that special condition, install and maintain erosion and sediment controls, which shall include a properly entrenched silt fence and or staked straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. ESCs shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. Prior to any construction activities commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent or representative shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Nope. Not hearing anything. This is a public hearing. If anybody in the public would like to get up and make a comment, I request you go to the podium and introduce yourselves. Not seeing anybody rise, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll make that motion. Yes, second. I was trying to beat Evan.
You threw me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Oh, I'm sorry. You really threw me.
See?
Sorry about that. We're not completely done yet. Could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Now you are free to leave. Yeah. Not after that display. All right. All right, this next applicant has requested a continuance to the 6/26/24 meeting.
That's F?
Yeah, this is F.
Okay.
This
Oh,
is.
yeah, here it is.
Yep. Public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Norse Environmental Services, Inc., on behalf of Ivan Cormier Construction Corp., 1596 Andover Street, DEP file number 305-1194, continued from the 5/1 meeting.
Hasn't this been on the agenda for like 6 years?
It has
I've only
been
been
on
here
for
two,
quite
and
some
it's been
time.
filled.
January,
Yeah.
for sure. That
It was on last year, I think, too.
So I think they're requesting a continuance to the 6/26 meeting, which is more than a month away. We can certainly ask for an update between that time, just to, to make sure that they are actually going to.
I mean, I don't know, I'm the only one, I think I've seen this every single
Yeah.
time, haven't I?
Yeah, it has
I thought we
been.
were trying to get away from,
Yeah, and yes, you're 1% correct. So I think we should hold them, certainly if they're,
I would just make them come to this meeting to give an
Yeah.
update, otherwise we're gonna
Yeah, I
just take it
mean,
off the agenda and they're gonna have to
yeah,
resubmit.
we could,
right, and if they say they're not ready for 4 or 5 months, well,
Yeah.
come back in
exactly.
4 or
All right.
5 months, right?
So if that's the case, could I have a motion to continue this to the 6/26/2024 meeting?
I'll make that motion with the caveat they have to attend that meeting.
All right, yes. Is there a second on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And now, agenda item G, administrative modification for 40 Commerce Way.
Hi, everyone.
Could you please introduce yourself for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Yes, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. I've been the wetland scientist for the project since the beginning. So first off, thank you for taking this as an administrative modification item for tonight. I appreciate the conversation. So to give the commission some background, as you all are well aware, this construction has been well underway for a while now. It's been nearing completion. They're actually in their probably final weeks now. And around when April came around, we were doing some site inspections and the on-site crew had realized that in a northwest corner of the site, next to that E-Series isolated wetland during the retaining wall installation, when the crew had installed it, it was originally proposed to be installed in a straight line and they sort of bowed it out in the field. And what that meant was that it encroached slightly beyond the limit of work in that area. What I did at that time was have the on-site crew measure all the encroachments and quantify what was done over there versus what was approved. And that was listed out in the administrative modification request. What it ended up resulting in is a 320 square foot permanent encroachment of actual wall location beyond the approved limit of work. And then it was about 938 square feet of temporary, just from machinery being in the area, impacts that weren't supposed to originally have been touched. It varied between about 2 feet 5 inches to 6 feet 2 inches of actual distance beyond the limit of work that they installed. So now there's a permanent limit of work over there of 18 feet 10 inches at closest to about 22 to 23 feet. And so what we had done at that point was take a look at the work that was done. And at this time, Joe was still with you guys, so I had met him out there and kind of talked out some options in the field of how we wanted to go about this. My independent assessment of it was that the work itself was done well, it was done stable, but it was an encroachment. And so when I see something like this, I tend to think that going back in and ripping it out for a few feet tends to cause more of an encroachment and more issues after the fact than is necessary if the work is done right. But at the same time, would not come forward with an administrative modification request unless we had a way that we could mitigate that on site elsewhere. So what I did at that point was I walked the remainder of the site as far as what's remaining to be natural and looked at areas where a significant mitigation opportunity could arise for the work that was done. What we had essentially found is on the eastern side of the property, we had our wetland replication area that's been installed and is doing great. And when you go into the natural area to the east of that, it's kind of the same dense invasives. It's honeysuckle, it's bittersweet, barberry, it's multiflora rose. A lot of what was there in the replication area that we moved out is now in that area, and it measures about 3,200 square feet in size over there. And so the way I assessed that was it's located close enough to the wetland replication area that removal of that and to clear out all areas surrounding the replication area would not only help the wildlife in the area of the invasive species removal, but it also helps to ensure the long-term success of the replication area by removing any potential invasives nearby that could encroach in. So what we had essentially done was found, it was 3,200 square feet, which gives about a 10-to-1 ratio for the 320 square feet that was encroached on. So the administrative request that we made is for approval for that encroachment into the limit of work with the understanding that 10-to-1 mitigation on another portion of the site would be done pending your approval.
All right. So do we know how this actually like happened? Because the straw wattles should have been, were they not in place? Did they fall over or anything?
So unfortunately, I wasn't there at the time. I'm kind of giving you my best guess right now. There was orange construction fencing and it was staked out at the limit of work over there. Unfortunately, the site supers and the contractors are from two different firms, and I think it was a field call by the construction crew. They had their correct limit on both ends staked out, but then they bowed it, and I think that was almost their own best call at the time of construction. By the time the actual on-site super saw the measurements, they had called me in to go take a look at it. So I can't speak to the actual intent, but it was originally staked out, and as soon as it was noticed by the crew, they got me on board before they did anything else.
And you said that the project's almost entirely complete, so I guess there's very little chance that something like this could happen in the future on a different part of the property, because.
Yeah, I am happy to report that now all retaining walls are in. They're actually on the landscaping phase now, so now they're stabilizing all the soils, seeding, the building's up. So everything else is done and looking great, but that was the catch kind of at the final end of this.
Yeah. Any
Oh,
questions or
it's a screw
comments?
up, but you did the 10-to-1. I mean, what do you do? Rip it out? Cause more damage?
That's our thought. So the 10-to-1 is the goal of if we're going to screw up, then we're going to make it better at the end.
Yeah, no, it's good. In my opinion, it's a decent call. I mean, damage is done, but the 3,200 is a nice game.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like there was intentional neglect from the
Well,
contractor.
they probably
or
arched the
supervisor.
wall to,
Yeah.
architecturally or something.
Honestly, they know more about that than I do. I just thought afterwards, I just look at it from a limit of work and, head slap. But other than that, I think that was, because it's structurally sound, the work is great, it's stable, it was just a limit of work issue. And because the actual on-site supers had contacted me before I found it, which tells me at least their intent was not to encroach, yeah.
So I know too, there's obviously wetlands around the property. Did we verify the rest of the work didn't encroach or met the submitted construction plans?
Yeah, at the same time, I've been walking kind of the exterior of the site. I've checked on both replication areas for survival and then the installation of the retaining walls and all that, and everything else is looking really, really good so far.
So we don't have any more oops to your knowledge.
To my knowledge, at this moment, there are no more. That is the one that we caught and
Technical
wanted to
term,
address. On the record, technical term, the oops.
All right. So
Do you know, so you said you worked on this with Joe while he was still around?
Yes, I met
Did
him
you
out
know
there
if he
on
had a
site.
chance to review the restoration plan itself? Obviously, the 10-to-1's great, but pretty much what you're planning in the restoration plan you're doing in the 10-to-1 area?
Yeah, so I think at that point, by the time I had submitted, he was no longer here. So I had met him on site at the wall itself and kind of looked at it and discussed the idea of, do you rip this out? Do you look for mitigation elsewhere on site? And he was straightforward with us that, it's reasonable to make the request for on-site restoration, but, to make a fair request, not to expect it. But by the time we had finalized the plan, assessed it, he had no longer had time to review it.
have you received anything?
I received the same plans that you folks did, and ultimately, it's your discretion, so.
All right. All right. If there's no further discussion, I am just not sure about the actual motion that would have to be made. Any,
So I would recommend if
Moving the
this is a
line.
plan that you want to move forward with, then you would accept it as an administrative modification to be reflected on the final as-built plans and certificate of compliance request. It would have to be called out as a deviation that was administratively approved at that time. And making sure that once those wetland replications are made, that the town is notified, the town being town staff, so we can go out and inspect it and make sure that, we put in perhaps, additional conditions that it has to survive for X amount of,
I think we go
growing
2
seasons or
years, don't
something.
we?
2 years or is it 3?
Sorry?
For,
Growing seasons.
Yeah,
Two or
Two
three
growing seasons or something like that, I think they throw that
Oh,
around.
yeah, on that, I should add that my plan does have 2 years of inspections in it, and the actual remainder of the site did because we had multiple replication and restoration areas. So this is intended now, the reports you guys receive in the future will be included with this area as well.
all right. All right, so I think if we're all in agreement, that sounds like a good plan.
It's reasonable.
Yeah. And,
Linda?
Yeah, no, I don't really like restoration plans. They typically don't work all that well, but I don't see going in and ripping out the wall. I think they probably did it that way for a reason, because it made it more stable. So,
The building does look great. I do trust what they were seeing out there.
all right, so no motion at this,
I would have the commission take a motion to accept this as an administrative.
oh, all right, sorry.
Yeah, just so it's captured for the record.
All right, so yes, could I have a motion to approve the request for, or the request for a minor plan change?
I'll make that motion as discussed at this meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time reviewing this. I appreciate that.
Thanks for being honest.
Of course, absolutely. It's a large-scale project. It bodes well.
Have a great day. And now we have 2 emergency certifications. The first one for 4 Terramore Drive. Could you fill us in on the details?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can speak to that. So at the previous meeting, Mr. Walsh had asked for clarification as to why it was both for a water and sewer tie-in, and there was no information readily available in the system. So I did go and ask our sewer department, and it turns out that with the failed septic system, that then compromised the well water area. So they went and tied into sewer and water at the same time.
They have a well? They actually
I'm
have a
sorry?
well?
Yeah, they were on, so this.
Private well, private water.
Correct. So this parcel was located formerly, I believe it was 359 Marshall Street, and with the construction of the Terramore Drive subdivision, they got a Terramore Drive address, but they never had their public water or sewer connections because it would have had to go through different private properties through easements, so they always just had private on site, and they kept it that way until the septic system failed.
I was curious on how that's, when I saw Terramore, I was like, those are brand-new homes.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah, they got a Terramore address when the street was constructed, but they were formerly 359 Marshall Street.
got it.
So if all questions are answered, then I would ask that this be ratified.
Yep. All right, to that effect, could I have a motion to ratify this emergency certification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is emergency certification for 170 Judith E. Drive. Do you have any information on that one?
This one's a pretty straightforward, failed septic system, failed Title V sewer connection tie-in within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland.
All right. Seems pretty straightforward. If there's no questions or comments from the commission, could I have a motion to ratify this emergency certification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. And now, pretty quick meeting. Any old business, new business, or admin reports?
If you don't mind, I'd like to touch on some of the new business items that I included in your packets. One is just an administrative notification that there was an appeal to Mass DEP on the 1167 Main Street notice of intent that was approved as an order of conditions a couple of weeks ago. There's no action required for the town or the commission. It's a DEP process, and we're just simply notified. What I really wanted to highlight is, I'm sure folks are aware that at last annual town meeting of '23, there was some funding approved for effectively the restoration of Long Pond. As we know, in the last couple of years, it's come subject to some of that blue-green algae that results in cyanobacteria and other unpleasant things. So we have entered into an agreement with Wetland and Water, or Water and Wetland, I always get it backwards, to start doing monitoring and treatment for us. And last season was the first full season, Water and Wetland, there we go. And we just got the first reports for calendar year 2024, and this program runs May through September with reports and field notes and treatments that happen in May, June, July, and August. And I included the latest report that I received from them on May 17th. And the numbers on their own look really good, but what I really wanted to highlight was I also included the field notes from August, which was the last report that we received at the end of '23. And there's been some significant improvement, even with the water being untouched between September and April. So the two measures that I found to be really telling is at the end of last season, or three markers rather, the surface level dissolved oxygen, which is in milligrams per liter, ended in August at 7.86. And then at the beginning of this year, so just last week after a treatment, that number has risen to 8.57, and that's on a scale of 0 to 10, and that is a range of tolerance for dissolved oxygen for fish. And 0 is really bad, 10 is really good, and we moved up, almost a full point in that scale just after the first treatment this year. Also looking at the surface temperature in Celsius, we ended last season at 24.3 degrees Celsius, and coming into this year, starting at 19.3 now, of course, that was after a full summer, a rather hot summer, and this is, well, after today, shaping up to be a pretty warm spring. But that's kind of where we're at temperature-wise. And then what I really wanted to also highlight is the Secchi disc depth, and for folks wondering what that is, it's a blue and white disc that is lowered into the water, and they see how far down they can go before they lose sight of the disc itself, and that kind of speaks to the water clarity. And at the end of last year, it was a depth of 2 feet and 10 inches, and nothing to totally write home about, but now it's at 3 feet 1 inch, which I think is really great, and it shows that we're at least not backsliding. And then I have received further test results on the algae levels today that I included, and we're looking at no blue-green algae and just some minor single-celled planktonic, whichever, that's a type of algae apparently. Other folks might know better than I do, but we're not getting into the territories that we were in 2021, which I think overall speaks to the efficacy of this maintenance plan, and looking forward to getting more data as we move forward this summer.
Wasn't there some talk about stocking this pond?
Nothing formally.
I know there was some chatter in one of the other meetings
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that it's an inviting and thriving environment for fish before we go do that, so.
Well, I think that was part of it. They were
Yeah.
talking about throwing some money over there, and
Yeah, yep, so we're in year 2 of this kind of restoration activity, and I think once we get to the end of it, we'll have a much better handle on,
can it support?
right, what can it support, and where are we sitting as far as hopefully our new maintenance level. And another item I did not include in you folks' packets, but it, became real as of yesterday. We have been able to hire a replacement conservation agent for Joe. Her name is Abigail, and she will be at your next meeting along with me on June 5th. And looking forward to welcoming her to town.
Yeah, crowded table up here for a little bit, but yeah, looking forward to her starting.
I'm not trying to rush it, but let's get done.
The only other thing, you mentioned town meeting, and if you weren't aware, the new bylaw passed. I don't know what the vote count was.
I think it was unanimous.
Oh, was it? All right. And correct me if I'm wrong, it still has to go through the state attorney general for review, so it's not officially our new bylaw just yet.
Correct.
But
So unlike zoning bylaws, which take effect immediately, general bylaws all do have to receive that express approval from the municipal law unit at the Attorney General's office. That package gets submitted by the town clerk, and I get notified once it comes back as approved. So as soon as that happens, I'll be able to let you folks know. You know, your new regulations can take place, and we'll officially be able to replace all those documents on the website and remove a butter notification from RDAs.
yeah, so for the time being, we're still using the old bylaw.
Correct.
Hopefully, you know,
Does that have to go out for comment, or they just?
It just goes straight to the municipal law unit for approval to make sure that it does not run afoul of any state laws or any other conflicts within the bylaw, which it ran by town council before it even got there, so we should be in good shape.
So Dan, the only other thing I want to mention is the meeting that you and Evan weren't at. Joe mentioned that he would be going to Ames Pond at the end of May to do another inspection or walkthrough, because he can do that every quarter, just to check on, you know, the erosion controls and everything. And also to check in with the property owner about the plantings, progress of plantings that will be taking place hopefully in June. So maybe the new conservation agent can do that? Or-
Once she is up to speed, certainly. To date, there have been no plans filed for any formal development of that site, so everything is still just at what they have as far as site preparation is concerned. But that can certainly, once we have her trained up, we can start looking at that, sure.
Can we check in on the planting?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
all right, if,
One last thing, it is DPW Appreciation Week, so I just want to thank all the DPW workers in Tewksbury. So, that's all.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, boo.
DPW
Can I make a
worker,
motion on
appreciate it.
that? Can I make a motion on that?
Second.
I know of at least one person who would be very, very excited to learn about that. All right, cool. If there's no further discussion, no new business or admin reports, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Great job.
Next.